April 12, 1943, 2:47 hours, North Atlantic. A 17-year-old radioman slumped over his equipment aboard a Liberty ship, carrying 400 souls through submarine-infested waters. He had fallen asleep on duty. The penalty for sleeping on watch during wartime convoy operations was court-martial, possible execution. His commanding officer had been clear: stay awake, no matter what, lives depend on you. But the teenager's exhaustion had overwhelmed training, discipline, and fear. His head tilted against the cold steel bulkhead. His mouth fell open. His breathing deepened into a rhythmic rasp. He began to snore. The sound transmitted through his open microphone across the entire radio network. Every ship in the convoy, every escort destroyer, every corvette maintaining the protective screen around 40 merchant vessels carrying troops, fuel, ammunition toward the European theater. The radioman did not know that at that precise moment, 800 yards off the convoy's port beam, a German U-boat commander was listening through his headphones. He did not know that his snoring was about to reveal something the submarine captain had spent 3 hours trying to determine. He did not know that his greatest failure, falling asleep when men's lives depended on his vigilance, would become the accident that saved them all. What he would learn, 9 days later in Liverpool, was that some victories cannot be claimed because they were never earned. Some survivors live knowing they should have died, but coincidence intervened. By April 1943, the Battle of the Atlantic had reached its deadliest phase. German U-boats were sinking Allied shipping faster than shipyards could replace losses. March 1943, 108 ships sunk, 627,000 tons sent to the bottom, one ship every 6.6 hours. Britain required 1 million tons of supplies monthly to survive. Germany needed to sink 700,000 tons monthly to starve Britain into surrender. Germany was winning. Admiral had developed tactics that devastated Allied convoys. His doctrine: observe, calculate. Strike when positioned perfectly. April 1943 became Black April. 56 Allied ships sunk in 2 weeks. Allied convoys operated under absolute radio silence. No transmissions except emergencies, no signals, no communications. Logic radio transmissions could be detected, triangulated, used to vector U-boats toward targets. Silence meant survival, but silence created vulnerability. U-boat commanders needed 3 pieces of information to attack successfully: convoy heading, convoy speed in knots, and ship formation spacing. Hydrophones detected propeller noise. Periscopes identified ship types. But determining precise heading and speed required extended observation, 30 minutes minimum, often 2-3 hours. During that window, the submarine remained vulnerable. Detection meant depth charges. Depth charges meant death. Between January and April 1943, Allied escorts sank 37 U-boats, but U-boats sank 239 merchant ships. The kill ratio stood at 6.4 to 1 in Germany's favor. The convoy system was failing because submarines exploited the detection window. Those hours of silent observation gave U-boats the tactical advantage to position and strike. Every convoy faced the same invisible threat. Somewhere in darkness, a submarine might be watching, calculating the perfect attack moment. The Liberty ship crew understood this threat intellectually. They had attended briefings, studied charts showing where convoys died, seen oil slicks and debris fields. But understanding and feeling are different. Day 4 of the crossing, no attacks, no alarms. The convoy's screen detected nothing. ASDIC showed empty ocean. Routine bred dangerous illusion. The 17-year-old radioman had been awake 16 hours straight. His shift should have ended at midnight. The relief operator was sick. The captain ordered, remain on duty. Standard wartime procedure. You stayed awake until relieved, regardless of exhaustion, regardless of blurred vision and sluggish thoughts. The teenager tried everything to stay alert. He stood instead of sitting, splashed cold water on his face, pinched his arms until bruises formed. At 2:47 hours, his body overruled will. His eyes closed, his head dropped, snapped back. He fought for 12 minutes. At 2:59 hours, he lost. His head tilted back, his mouth opened. The snoring began soft, then louder, a rhythmic rattle filling the cramped radio room. His thumb rested against the microphone transmit button. The safety switch, designed to prevent accidental transmission, had been bypassed weeks earlier by a previous operator who found it cumbersome. The microphone was live. Every snore transmitted across the convoy frequency. The radioman's name was never recorded in official convoy reports. Records show 17 years old. American Midwest, civilian merchant marine volunteer, 6 weeks of radio training before assignment to the Liberty ship. This was his second Atlantic crossing. His first had been uneventful, smooth seas, no submarine contacts. The convoy reached Liverpool without incident. That experience created a psychological trap, the illusion that crossing the Atlantic was routine work, not warfare. He was technically qualified. He understood Morse code, frequency management, emergency protocols. He had passed all examinations. But 6 weeks couldn't teach the reality of 16-hour shifts in a closet-sized radio room, alone, listening to static, knowing that missing one transmission could mean torpedoes at 3 a.m. It couldn't teach what exhaustion feels like when it becomes physical weight pressing on your chest, turning simple thoughts into complicated puzzles. The convoy departed New York on April 8th. 40 merchant ships, 5 destroyers, 8 corvettes. Course northeast toward Britain, speed 9 knots, estimated crossing 12 days. Standard zigzag pattern every 30 minutes, radio silence except emergencies, all lights extinguished after dark. For 3 days, nothing happened. The teenager began to believe they would make it. Began to think about Liverpool, solid ground, hot food, a bed that didn't pitch with every wave. He didn't know that 800 yards away, beneath the surface, a submarine had been following since midnight. 2:59 hours, the radioman's head tilted back. His breathing deepened, slowed. His mouth opened. The snoring started soft, then built, a rhythmic, rattling sound that would have been comical in any other context. The sound transmitted across the convoy frequency with perfect clarity. On the flagship, the Commodore's radio officer grabbed his headset off in disgust. On destroyers, operators burst out laughing, nervous laughter born from exhaustion and fear. On corvettes, stared in disbelief. One teenager snoring. Broadcasting across the North Atlantic during wartime radio silence. For 90 seconds, the sound continued. What none of them knew was that those 90 seconds of humiliating failure were about to save 400 lives. Because 800 yards away, someone else was listening. C commanded U-515, a Type IXC submarine with 22 torpedoes and 48 crew. 5th Patrol. 12 Allied ships sunk previously totaling 67,000 tons. He was experienced, patient, methodical. He had detected the convoy at 20 hours using hydrophones. 40 ships created a distinct acoustic signature, but hydrophones couldn't determine heading or speed with attack precision. Surface to periscope depth at 45, identified ship types through darkness, counted vessels. Estimated formation. But he couldn't determine exact heading. The zigzag pattern made calculations impossible without extended observation. He was preparing to surface completely, to race ahead using superior surface speed, to position for dawn attack. Then at 2:59 hours, he heard snoring through his headphones. German U-boats carried MB equipment. Radio monitoring and direction finding. The system could detect Allied transmissions, determine bearing, estimate distance. Range, 1530 nautical miles. Limitations. Required 5-10 seconds minimum for accurate bearing. Brief transmissions produced unreliable readings. The snoring was neither brief nor unclear. 90 seconds continuous. Strong signal indicating close proximity. Perfect for direction finding. Radio operator reported. Transmission detected. Bearing 285. Distance estimate 801,200 meters. Open microphone not deliberate. Understood immediately. The transmission revealed 3 critical pieces. Bearing 285 meant northwest of U-515's location, not nor-northeast as hydrophone data suggested. His 3 hours of observation had produced 15-degree error. Signal strength remained constant over 90 seconds. The ship traveled perpendicular to U-515, not toward or away. Perpendicular movement at bearing 285 indicated heading approximately 45 degrees. Northeast toward Britain. Minimal bearing drift indicated 8-10 knots, consistent with Liberty ship cruising speed. In 90 seconds, obtained what 2 hours 47 minutes of observation failed to provide. He gave orders. U-515 altered course to 65 degrees, maximum surface speed, 18 knots. Objective, race ahead, position 15 miles forward, submerge before dawn, wait. Standard procedure. Except made a critical error. The snoring revealed convoy position to U-515. But it also revealed U-515's position to convoy escorts. Every escort destroyer heard the transmission, every corvette, every destroyer had HFDF, high-frequency direction finding. Luftwaffe. HFDF worked like German MB, but Allied systems had one advantage: network triangulation. 1 HFDF set determined bearing, 2 sets triangulated position, 3 sets confirmed precisely. The convoy had 5 destroyers with HFDF capability. Within 30 seconds, 3 destroyers reported their readings. HMS detected bearing 105 degrees. HMS Sunflower reported 118 degrees. HMS Loosestrife confirmed 92 degrees. Convoy staff plotted intersecting bearings. The intersection point was 800 yards off port beam. Submarine contact confirmed, position precise. The transmission accomplished what 2 hours 47 minutes of ASDIC sweeps failed to achieve, located the U-boat with precision. HMS altered course immediately, speed 24 knots. Armed with 40 depth charges, Type 271 radar, and ASDIC sonar. Heard destroyer propellers at 3:02 hours, high-speed screws. Closing fast. He ordered emergency dive. U-515 required 35 seconds to reach safe depth of 60 meters. HMS required 90 seconds to close to depth charge release point. The margin was 55 seconds, but the destroyer had Type 271 radar. This system could track a surface submarine at 5,000 yards. Could track a submerging submarine at 2,000 yards by detecting the swirl pattern as the conning tower went under. HMS radar held contact until U-515 disappeared at 3:02:28. Last known position was exact. Last known heading was exact. Last known depth estimated at 30 meters and descending. ASDIC acquired contact at 3:03:15. Solid return. Range 400 yards. Depth 50 meters. Speed 4 knots. The destroyer captain ordered pattern Delta, fire. 10 depth charges, each containing 300 pounds of high explosive, configured for 50-meter detonation with a spread pattern covering a 200-yard radius. U-515 heard them coming, the splash, the clicking of arming fuses, the silence before detonation. Ordered rig for depth charge. All hands brace. First explosion, 3:04:02. 10 depth charges rolled off HMS stern. Each contained 300 pounds of high explosive, configured for 50-meter detonation. Spread pattern, 200-yard radius. They splashed into black water at precise intervals, 1 every 2 seconds. U-515 heard them coming, the splash, the clicking of hydrostatic fuses arming. Then silence, terrible silence before detonation. Ordered rig for depth charge, all hands brace, silent running. The crew grabbed whatever they could hold, pipes, valve wheels, each other. First explosion, 3:04:02. The teenager woke at 3:04:03. The depth charge detonation transmitted through water as massive pressure wave. It hit the Liberty ship's hull like a giant hammer. The entire vessel shuddered, metal plates rang. The radioman jerked upright. His hand knocked the microphone off the desk. He grabbed his headset. Radio discipline had collapsed, every ship transmitting. Depth charges port side. Contact confirmed, submarine attack. All ships maintain formation. The teenager understood instantly. He had fallen asleep. The microphone had been live. He had transmitted something. The penalty was court-martial. He sat frozen, listening to depth charge detonations through the hull. 10 explosions in 40 seconds. Then silence. The depth charge pattern bracketed U-515 with devastating precision. 3 charges detonated within 30 meters of the hull, close enough to cause catastrophic damage. Explosions shattered external hydrophones. Cracked battery casings, releasing chlorine gas, shorted electrical systems, jammed the stern diving plane at 15-degree down angle. The submarine tilted nose up, started rising uncontrollably. Ordered emergency ballast blow, compressed air roared into damaged tanks. U-515 shot toward the surface. The submarine broke surface at 3:05:10. HMS was waiting 600 yards away. The destroyer's 4-inch gun engaged immediately. First salvo, 3:05:18. Had no options. U-515 couldn't dive with jammed planes, couldn't run against a destroyer with 8-knot speed advantage, couldn't fight with damaged systems. He ordered the white flare. International signal, surrender. Gunfire stopped. U-515 was the first German submarine captured intact in the North Atlantic in 1943. The boarding party secured extraordinary intelligence, an Enigma machine with current rotor settings, valid through May 1943, navigation charts showing U-boat operational areas, MB direction-finding equipment, complete torpedo fire control documentation. But most valuable was human intelligence. 49 German submariners, including who knew U-boat tactics, communication procedures, coordination in intimate detail. Allied intelligence interrogated the crew for 6 weeks. The information extracted compromised German Atlantic operations for the remainder of 1943. Patrol routes, recognition signals, rendezvous protocols, supply submarine locations. Every secret revealed was another U-boat that could be hunted. Another convoy that could be routed to safety. The capture of U-515 created cascade effects across the entire Battle of the Atlantic. The Enigma machine and allowed British codebreakers at Park to decrypt German naval communications with a 24-hour delay instead of the previous 4-6-day delay. This acceleration was strategically decisive. Convoy routing could now avoid known U-boat positions with current intelligence instead of outdated estimates. Escort groups could be directed to intercept submarines before they reached attack positions. The statistics tell the story. In April 1943, U-boats sank 56 Allied merchant ships while losing only 15 submarines. The kill ratio stood at 3.7 to 1 in Germany's favor. By May, everything changed. Allied ships' loss dropped to 34, while 41 U-boats were destroyed. The ratio shifted to 0.83 to 1. By June, only 18 merchant ships were sunk, while 37 U-boats went down. The ratio now stood at 0.49 to 1. The kill ratio had reversed completely. In May 1943, Admiral U-boats from the North Atlantic. He called it Black May. 41 submarines lost in a single month, nearly 10% of his entire operational fleet. The withdrawal marked the turning point of the Battle of the Atlantic. Germany never regained submarine dominance. The Atlantic supply lines to Britain remained open. American troops, equipment and supplies flowed uninterrupted toward the European theater. The invasion of Normandy in June 1944 was possible because convoys crossed the Atlantic safely in 1943 and 1944. And it had started with a teenager who fell asleep. The 17-year-old radioman was not court-martialed. The convoy commodore's after-action report was remarkably understanding. Accidental transmission on 12 April 2:59 hours resulted in submarine detection, engagement, and capture. Radioman had remained on duty for 16+ hours due to illness of relief operator. Transmission, while violation of radio silence protocol, produced strategic intelligence of exceptional value. Recommend commendation rather than disciplinary action. But the teenager received no commendation. He was quietly transferred to shore duty in Liverpool. Assigned as radio instructor for merchant marine training programs, he spent the remainder of the war teaching 200+ proper communication procedures and equipment operation. He never served aboard a ship again. The teenager's name was never published. Merchant marine records from 1943 remain partially classified even today. What is known, he survived the war. Returned to the American Midwest, worked in civilian telecommunications for 40+ years, married, had children. He died in 1989 at age 63. He never spoke publicly about falling asleep on duty, never discussed saving 400 lives by snoring, never claimed credit for the capture of U-515 or the intelligence coup that followed. When asked about his war service by family, he would say only, "I did radio work on merchant ships." Nothing special. This story reveals a principle that extends far beyond naval warfare. Systems fail not from dramatic collapse, but from accumulated small compromises. The teenager did not intend to fall asleep. The ship's captain did not intend to create conditions requiring a 17-year-old to work 16 hours straight. The previous operator who disabled the microphone safety switch did not intend to enable accidental transmission. Each decision made sense in isolation. Each compromise seemed minor and temporary. But minor compromises accumulate into system vulnerabilities. Exhaustion plus disabled safety equipment plus radio silence protocol equals accident waiting to happen. The submarine was not defeated by superior technology or brilliant tactics. It was detected by an accident created by system degradation, intersecting with enemy presence at the exact moment when Allied escorts had capability to exploit the mistake. Most decisive moments in warfare are not brilliant decisions. They are accidents created by exhausted people operating degraded systems under impossible conditions. The radioman was not heroic. He failed at his primary duty. He violated the most important rule. He fell asleep when lives depended on his vigilance. But his failure intersected with the enemy's presence at the precise moment when the convoy escorts had the capability to exploit the accident. Change any single variable, and the outcome changes completely. If the relief operator had not been sick, the teenager would not have been on duty for 16 hours. If the microphone safety switch had not been disabled, the snoring would not have transmitted. If U-515 had been 2,000 yards away instead of 800, the signal would have been too weak for accurate direction finding. If the escort destroyers had not been equipped with HFDF triangulation capability, the bearing readings would have been meaningless. 400 lives were saved not by a system working perfectly, but by multiple system failures creating an accidental tactical advantage. The teenager understood this truth. He spent 45 years never discussing the incident because he knew he had not saved anyone through skill or courage. He had simply been present when coincidence defeated competence, when exhaustion became survival, when failure became victory. The North Atlantic in 1943 was not won by heroes. It was won by exhausted teenagers who fell asleep at the wrong moment, in the right place, with the microphone on.